All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to Open Education Week. We are kicking off today with this first session. We have another one at 1 o'clock and then there are a couple more throughout the week. So I'd invite you to take a look at the schedule and I'll post that in the chat for you. If we haven't met, my name is Erin and I manage our communications and community engagement activities at SUNY Online. I'm joined today by Hal Turner and Erin Czerwinski from the Open Learning Initiative, along with my colleague Tony DeFranco from SUNY OER Services. They're going to be sharing with you about OLI's ready to adopt courses and customization. So welcome to you all. And if you would introduce yourselves in the chat, all the participants, it's always great for us to know where you're joining us from and what your role is. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Erin.
Would help if I unmuted.
the chat
Hi
is
everyone, thank you, Erin. It's great to be here. Thanks, Tony and everyone for inviting us. And we'll just get started. We'll start with some introductions. Tony, did you have some opening things you wanted to say at all?
Yeah, I do. Thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. Thank you to my colleague Erin and the SUNY Online team. Always do a great job with putting these together. We appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. If you've got the ability to share your slides, Erin, I think we can get started. I only had a couple of slides and would open them. So first thing I wanted to do is talk about our partnerships and who we are and how we got to be where we are. SUNY OER Services is a shared services organization for SUNY institutions that are looking to build, support, and expand open educational programs and practices. And we have a few areas of focus. They are to lower the cost of higher education for students, to improve the teaching and learning process, and really to empower faculty to use course materials that they feel are best suited to their courses and classes. We've seen tremendous growth and success by utilizing our own internal expertise, but also the expertise from partners such as Carnegie Mellon University's Open Learning Initiative, or OLI. They provide digital courseware that's based on the learning science, as you'll hear much more about over the next 30 minutes or so, that really takes advantage of the power and flexibility of OER. The content in OLI courseware meets SUNY EIT policy, which is very important to us, and it goes through review for inclusiveness, diversity, and equity. So students really see themselves and their lived experiences featured in the course materials. We have a large network of partners. As you can see here, some of the logos here. These partnerships allow us to provide critical external supports and offerings. They really allow us to leverage existing services in SUNY, such as help desk support. So any of you who are on the call, if you subscribe to the online learning services from SUNY Online, the help desk does a phenomenal job. SUNY Center for Professional Development, or CPD, they assist us with training and other professional development activities such as Lumen Circles. SUNY Press, they provide publishing and print services, and of course our key partners like OLI and Lumen Learning. And our overall goal within the partnerships really is to increase success for SUNY learners, whether that's in a face-to-face setting, a hybrid, HyFlex, or fully online. And our work with our partners has demonstrated that OER really is so much more than just about the content. We've seen that it's really helped faculty think about how they want to reshape their courses. And next slide, Erin. You'll find this content on SUNY's Ready to Adopt course catalog at oer.suny.edu. The catalog features over 120 accessible and easily customizable courses, which are primarily high enrollment and gen ed courses. All of them seamlessly integrate into the LMS. Faculty can easily adopt a course by filling out a brief online form on the website or by simply emailing the SUNY Online help desk. And through these partnerships with OLI and Lumen, all content is available at no cost to students. It will continue to be now until fall of 2024. Because the content's openly licensed, faculty have the freedom to revise and remix it to match the plan for their courses. And at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to my colleagues at OLI, Erin and Hal. Thanks, Erin.
Thanks, Tony. That was great. So we're here today from the Open Learning Initiative, which is at Carnegie Mellon University, to talk about our ready to adopt courseware, as well as customization efforts that we offer. I'm Erin Czerwinski. I'm the manager of learning engineering and course development, as well as technology enhanced learning products at Carnegie Mellon University. and specifically the Open Learning Initiative. And I'm joined here today by my colleague, Hal. Hal, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Hal Turner. I am the OLI Partner and Community Manager, which is the vague way of saying that I'm essentially customer success, and I oversee the support structure here at the Open Learning Initiative. So nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Hal. So we're going to talk to you today a little bit about our course design philosophy, because it's based in learning sciences, and the way we develop our courses is based on best practices we've learned at Carnegie Mellon University and beyond in the learning sciences. We'll talk a little bit, just a couple slides about our results, just so you get a sense for how our courses have improved learning outcomes for students. We're going to show off the courses that are available for you to adopt at any time. And then I'm going to demo a couple tools really quickly, just to give you a taste of how you might be able to customize those courses, any of the courses that we have, as well as creating your own content if you want to do something like that. I'll ask Hal to manage the chat. If please feel free to interrupt if you have questions, and then Hal, when you're speaking, I'll make sure I look at the chat as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so the Open Learning Initiative creates their courses, designs their courses. We take a learner-centered approach. We know from the learning sciences that students can only learn what they practice. So we take a very learn by doing approach. So we try to put as much practice into our courses as possible. And you hear this over and over again, that theme. But what we also do is create an opportunity for lots of targeted feedback as students work through those practice opportunities. And we build in lots of scaffolding, examples, things like that we know are proven to help students learn. We know just from the learning sciences that we know just in general, you can't crack someone's head open and see the learning taking place. So what we've learned to do is create models. We're trying to really create learning as something that you can observe and measure. And so we start by creating models of that learning, and that's usually in the form of the learning objectives, carefully crafted learning objectives. And then we break those down into skills so that we can make sure that we're providing practice and opportunities for learning for each skill. And we'll get into more of that later as to what other things that does for different folks, different constituencies. We take that model of learning that is informed by what we know in terms of best practices of learning design and learning theory. And we then design our courses to really be exemplify that model. So what we're trying to do is make sure that for every learning objective and skill that we've identified as part of that learning model, that we tie that to practice and we instrument that practice. And I'll get into a little more about that later, but essentially what we're doing is we're making sure that we're collecting data on every interaction, everything the student does in our system, so that it drives dashboards and feedback loops. That data collected informs the model, it validates that model or tells us where that model might be flawed. But in the aggregate, we hope that it also drives new discoveries in the learning sciences. And this overall approach is what we call learning engineering. So making sure that we're collecting the right kinds of data that drive insights into how students are working with the content, where they're struggling, and hopefully where we can improve our designs as well. So the Open Learning Initiative was founded in 2002 to not only create open educational resources, which is what we do, but to make sure that they're effective open educational resources. So all of this data that we collect is really to inform how the performance on the courses are doing, how the performance of your students are doing, and hopefully how we can do new things in the learning sciences. We really approach every course design as a hypothesis of how we think the students will learn the material, and then we craft lots of interactions and learning opportunities and practice again, making sure that we're collecting data every step of the way to validate that hypothesis or inform where we might be flawed in our hypothesis. Most of the best practices and principles of learning design that we use come from this book, How Learning Works. It seems like it's kind of old now, but it still holds true. And this comes out of our colleagues at the Eberly Center for Teaching Excellence at Carnegie Mellon University. It's our staff of folks who really support our professors in their course designs and use these principles every day. But a handful of those principles are right here. So that, again, students learn by doing, that we have to provide that goal-directed, that targeted practice and the feedback associated with that, so that students know when they're going, when they're wrong and they can correct themselves. That the way students organize knowledge determines how they use it. So that's just to say that we in our course designs have to help the students organize that knowledge. So that means drawing on prior knowledge and connecting that to the new knowledge that they need. And so we have a very linear process that we walk students through in learning the materials. That mastery involves developing component skills and synthesizing and applying them. So what we try to do with that principle is make sure that we not only provide lots of practice, but we scaffold that practice at the beginning and then slowly take that scaffolding away and provide practice in the synthesis of multiple skills so that we know that they're getting all of that practice and they're building up their learning to the appropriate level that we need them to. And another principle is that self-directed learning requires students to monitor their own learning process and so that they can learn how to adjust their approaches to help them learn better. And we do this by providing lots of opportunities for reflection in the materials, as well as helping students rate themselves and really monitor their own learning. So we start with this learning model that I mentioned before. And I've said this before, we break this down into skills. And as you can imagine, when you're developing a semester-long course of all the material, all the expository text and practice opportunities and assessment, these are all things that are built into our courses, it could actually really go awry very easily when you're building that much content. So we're very careful in, again, crafting the skills that we know the students need to learn. And then we make sure that we provide not only practice opportunities, but also assessments. And again, when you're developing a course over a long period of time, you can imagine that things can go awry, like I said before. There might be skills that you didn't realize students need to learn that are part of those larger learning objectives. You could have skills that you provide activities and practice to that you're not assessing, or skills that you're assessing that you're not providing enough practice on. And so this is the basic model we use to develop our courses. Again, back to that instrumented content. When we're talking about content instrumentation, we're talking about the interactions that students make that tell us something about whether they're learning or not. So a lot of other platforms provide proxies for that information in the form of page views or time on task. What we're really collecting is each interaction. What are students selecting that is right or wrong? And what is that telling us about what misconceptions they have or what they're still struggling with? And I'll show this all in a little bit. This data that we collect drives many different feedback loops. So we use that data not only to feed that back to the instructor in the form of a dashboard that will tell the instructor, oh, my students are having problems with these learning objectives, but even deeper than that, with these parts of that learning objective in the form of the skills. And that really helps the instructor in real time find out how the students are learning the material or not, and can adjust their practice in the classroom or in a Zoom room these days. Those data also feed our course design. So we have dashboards for course designers as well to show in the aggregate What questions are students not getting to correctness on? What are places in the content that seemingly are not supporting the students well enough? And so we can use that data to really dive in and surgically iterate on those pieces of the course and the content that are not helping students. And so that insight is very helpful as you iterate on the content. And of course, we drive feedback loops back to the students so that they can monitor their own learning and see where they're struggling with the skills as well. And then in the aggregate, we collect that data up and hopefully can put it back into what we know about learning science and how students learn, and drive new insights into that domain. So here's an example of some of what we do with that data. So this is an example of a learning dashboard, and the learning objectives all laid out. And you can click into these and drill down deeper and deeper into our learning dashboard to find out, which students are struggling, what they're struggling with, what students maybe aren't even participating. They're not doing the practice, or they're not doing enough to even tell you what they know or what they don't know. So that's one way. That's that instructor learning dashboard. We also have the ability to analyze that data even further and generate what are called learning curves. So that helps us understand what skills, if students are with each opportunity having less errors with practice against each skill. And we can use that again to figure out, do we have the right learning model? Do we have the right skills that we're measuring? And then we have what I had mentioned before, kind of what we call design audit tools that allow us to drill in and see which questions students are struggling with, and how, what are some things we might be able to do to correct that. And we use this general course design triangle. So we start with the learning outcomes always, and then think about how would we assess those outcomes? What are activities and practice opportunities that students would need to be able to gain confidence with those skills? And then we think of the instructional content last, which isn't meaning to say that it's not important, but we want to make sure that that practice is there. And then with the design of hints that we add to our questions and the feedback, the targeted feedback to each answer option, we know that students are learning all along the way as they're practicing. So with each click, they're getting some sort of feedback, whether it be correct or incorrect, and an explanation as to why that helps drive the learning. The instructional content we select is usually in the form of open educational resources that we then add these practice opportunities to, and make sure that we understand the learning model from those educational resources that are out there. We want to spend most of our time carefully designing that practice to each skill and multiple opportunities for it. So the OER content really allows us to focus our attention and our design strengths to the activities and the assessments. So I'll show this in a minute, but the typical OLI layout of a course or a course page or a module usually involves, making sure that those student-centered measurable outcomes are shown to the students right from the get-go, so they know what the learning goals are for that content. We, select the exposition very carefully. We don't always just dump a whole OER textbook into our system. It's carefully curated against those skills and refined even in some cases against those skills. And then we might want to make sure that we don't just have walls of text in our courses, but that we have lots of multiple representations, whether that be in the form of video, worked examples, audio, anything that you would imagine be part of a course. We try to, with each skill, have multiple representations of that, knowing that students like videos and learn from the practice. Having that all together really produces an engaging course. The worked examples are a big, important part of our courses, because we know that the more examples that you provide, the students are learning best from those worked examples, showing a problem worked out in all of its steps, and then possibly even taking some of those steps away or turning some of those steps into practice. so that students are really working with real world instantiations of that content. And then formative practice, lots of it. I mean, again, that's what we really spend our time doing, is creating all of those practice opportunities, making sure that they're aligned up with the skills and that they're aligned with the exposition. We shouldn't be making students read something if it's not going to lead to better understanding and learning on the practice opportunities. The practice opportunities that we design have careful hints and feedback. I mentioned that before, targeted to every answer option. And we try to make sure that we're engaging that prior knowledge. So we're not just providing practice in just that particular skill, but we're trying to help the students understand what prior knowledge they need to bring to those practice opportunities as well. Metacognition, again, helping students learn how to learn better for themselves, helping them know when to stop and reflect on their learning, when to think about asking for help, those sorts of things we try to design into our courses so that students are monitoring their own learning and hopefully getting better at learning in general, not just for that particular content. And then we also have summative assessments, quizzes that can be graded assessments, and we are able to bring in many other interactions that exist in the world. So if there's other types of things, like in our chemistry course, we've embedded PhET simulations, if you're familiar with those, but we have the ability to embed lots of different types of opportunity of practice and interactives that exist. So our results, and I'm only just going to kind of gloss over this, but just, I think you'll have access to the slides. I know this is a lot to read right now, but the idea is that we've had lots of research studies done on the way we design our courses and the performance of the students who've taken our courses. And we find over and over again that this type of courseware supports students in learning, twice as much in half the time it's possible. Because we've really, by using the learning sciences and the principles from that to design our courses, we're not only effective in our learning strategies, but we're efficient as well. We've found the most effective and efficient way to design and deliver course content for students to learn. And that impact has reach. We have lots of enrollments. We have, for every course that we develop that a university can use, we also put an open and free version out there that is pretty much all of the same content, but without the assessments, so that students, independent learners, can just go out and learn chemistry or learn physics or whatever they want to learn. Our courses are available for independent students. So that's what we mean by these independent enrollments. Our courses reach, actually, they're used at CMU. Many of our courses are used at Carnegie Mellon University, but most of our enrollments are outside of Carnegie Mellon. So our courses are used in a very widespread way and part of grant opportunities as well. So I'm going to turn this over to Hal to talk a little bit, do a little more deeper dive into our course catalog and let you know what's available.
Thanks, Erin. Yeah, one of the things that we don't generally talk about in these workshops are the actual courses. We'll mention, hey, we've got this catalog, go check it out. But it's pretty rare that we actually discuss literally what our offerings are. So I thought we would give a few example categories and list some of the items that we have, because generally people want to know, hey, do you have this? Do you have that? And we don't always have time to answer everybody's specific question. But as you might expect, we've got a lot of STEM topics. Our flagship course is statistics. We have a couple different flavors of statistics. We've got chemistry 1 and 2, a basic intro to biology, and a physics 1, which was developed by in collaboration with SUNY faculty. We've got a physics 2 in development, as it turns out, an anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, and STEM readiness course, which is like it's a course that is targeted at transitional workers who may be looking to enter a new STEM field career and need refresher on math and other basic STEM instructional topics. We've got humanities and business, where you'll find things like psychology and evidence-based management, logic and proofs, which actually spans a lot of different categories, but sits most firmly as a philosophy, but is also used in as a math adjacent course, and also computer science. And we have American English Speech, which is not about English, but it is about English pronunciation. Next slide, please, Erin. I've got lots of modern language courses, which are among our most popular. French 1 and 2. French 3 is actually under development. Spanish 1 and 2. We've got Mandarin Chinese 1 and 2, and there's actually a new Chinese course that's under development. And as it turns out, the folks in the Binghamton Italian department, or modern languages department, are building an Italian course in our platform right now. And our biggest growing category over the last few years has been student success. We have a lot of new material in the last 5 or 6 years that we like to think of as sidecar material. It's not full semesters worth of content, but rather supplementary content that would be good for any accompanying any 101 course. We've got Student Cognition Toolbox, which is study skills, and that comes in several different flavors. There's a generic flavor, a vanilla, if you will, that uses introduction to psychology examples in it. But then instead of sticking just with psychology examples, the authors have branched out and made topic-specific ones. So we have one that is for biology. Is it biology, Erin? I've lost track of what they are. Statistics, physics. Do you remember? Chemistry. And isn't there another?
There's ones in the works all the time. I think they're working on a physics as well.
Okay. So those have topic-specific examples that are, the context helps the students with understanding the types of study techniques that they should employ for the different types of material that they're learning. We have a SUNY developed course called Well Start, which is a course that helps students transition to college and maintain mental health throughout their time in school. We've got a group of courses called Collaborative U, Conflict U, and Meeting U, all of which help students in these areas, help them collaborate with their peers, help them avoid or repair conflict with them, and how to conduct meaningful and responsible meetings. And then we also have some content that would serve really well as the foundation for a custom course. We have Responsible Computing, which was designed for use at CMU, but would be an easy piece of content to take for yourself and tailor to your students or your campus. Next slide, please. So Tony briefly covered this. Adopting these courses is super easy. You go to this website, the oer.suny.edu, and you search for and click on any of these tiles. And that gives you the opportunity, next slide, please, to evaluate the material, at which point all you do is fill out this form, and then we get back in touch with you and walk you through the process of adopting it, how to configure it, how to get your students set up, how to get the link into your LMS. It's all really easy. It's all free. And you can have courses configured and set up in minutes. There are a few people on this call who have used OLI materials and can attest to how simple it is to set things up when you just take them off the shelf and, you know, add a title and some dates and you're all set. And I mean, it literally takes 3 minutes. Next slide, please, Erin. So the OER approach that we like to employ is some of the material is proprietary. I wanted to mention that because I don't want everybody to think that if they have a project that it must be OER. If you have a project that you would like to develop where the material would be proprietary, that's perfectly fine. We have several of those projects and courses in our catalog, but the vast majority is OER. So what does that mean for how we created our courses? A really good example from the recent past is general chemistry. In order to fulfill the sort of 5 R's of OER, we try to touch on all of that. We let you have your own versions. We let you reuse the material how you see fit. You can remix it and reuse it, and you can redistribute it if you like. The general chemistry is the perfect example of that. Next slide, please, Erin. The source for general chemistry was OpenStax. So what we did is we took the OpenStax material, and the author who works at Carnegie Mellon in the chemistry department, her name is Sandy Razor. Sandy essentially OLI-ified it. She configured the material so that it would be more digestible for the students in an online, digital experience to best maintain student engagement. She laid out all of the learning objectives. As Erin described, they should be student-centered and measurable. So they pretty much had to be designed by Sandy from the start. She and her team created hundreds of interactive practice exercises and placed them interstitially. And to Erin's point, they start basic and then they build up and scaffold on themselves until you've got synthesis activities. And then, even beyond that, you end up with lab activities where you take all of the material that you've learned throughout a module and you apply it in the lab. She added all of the summative assessments to each of them, including multiple the pools of questions that supply multiple unique opportunities on those summatives. And as was discussed, every interaction is mapped to one or more skills so that we can collect data about how the students are performing and how the material is doing from an instructive efficacy standpoint. Next slide, please. And last thing I wanted to mention is that you are deeply, deeply supported by this team. There are 3 levels of support that you can experience. It's not complicated. I don't want it to sound overwhelming, but everything is already set up. Every LMS in the SUNY system already has OLI integrated. So you'll get, you've already got that going for you. Then you get support from SUNY OER Services and the SUNY Help Desk. If they need to pass something on, we have a partnership with Lumen Learning, who Tony mentioned early on is part of this OER endeavor with us. And then anything that they can't help with gets passed on to us. And we also like to be available for you for lots of different forms of consultation. So if you had a development project that you wanted to undertake, Erin and her team are there to help you design that project and map out its development and its timeline. And her team and myself would be there to help you with any sort of delivery platform orientation that you or your team or even your entire department needed. We're always around to help out with workshops of any kind that you need. And of course, we also have one-on-one meetings whenever you need to set them up. So it is never, we are not a corporate monolith that is difficult to reach out to. We're here, we're higher ed as well, and we're here to help as much as we can. And I guess that's all I have to say about the support structure. So.
Thanks, Al.
Sure.
That's great.
Oh, it isn't all I wanted to say. Of course, I just wanted to mention there is documentation available to you as well. So it isn't all just having to set up meetings. Sorry.
Right.
That's
No, that's perfect. We do have a question. We're looking at the environmental technology OLI course, PDF download or offline way to review the course. We have ways for you to review the course. We can set you up with accounts just so you can see it as the student would see it. And of course, we could probably think we have the ability to do PDF downloads, but you're not going to get the full experience. You're not going to get all those practice opportunities and all the hints and feedback that I'll show in just a minute. With the time left, I'm going to go over to some of our tools and show you what they look like. So just give me a second here to get to the right screen.
So Erin, as you're doing that, I'm going to jump in quickly. So if anyone is interested in adopting, Hal just went through the process for getting access to the courses. You go to the catalog at oer.suny.edu. Erin Maney shared that link. If you do have questions, there's a help button inside each of the courses. Documentation is provided for getting started. And as Hal mentioned, it's very, very quick, very simple. But if you do need help, again, we've got multiple layers of help available, and the response time is very, very quick. We've heard from a number of faculty and campuses. We're just surprised at how quick the response is to get help. So it is there, and it's very easy to get started if you're completely new at this and a little bit nervous about getting started with it. It's very simple.
Thanks, Tony. So I'm just going to show a couple of things as quickly as possible. It's just going to be a quick view. Of course, if any of these things are of interest to you, we can meet one-on-one. We can show you deep dive into any of the content or tools that I'm going to show you. So this is, our chemistry course. This is one module in a chemistry course. This chemistry course I can just show you at a glance has, all of these units in terms of what's here. But I'm going to go in and just show a couple pages of this stoichiometry module, just to give you a sense of what's usual. But first, I have to move this Zoom window. Okay, there we go. So this is reaction stoichiometry module. Here are the pages. I'm going to go in, and again, I'm just going to show you a couple pages. So we have the learning objectives at the top of the page so that students know what they're about to learn. We break this up into, the different textual content, lots of worked examples, as you can see, lots of examples. And then we have these learn by doing opportunities. And I shouldn't have started with an open-ended one because I'm probably going to get this really wrong, but it's not demonstrated here as well, but for each answer option. So what we try to do is work out problems so that we know the wrong answers that students will typically make, and then tailor the feedback right to those wrong answers. So we can say, oh, you did this differently, maybe you should have done this. And if it's, we also have hints. So students are stuck, we have the ability to give them a hint, and we design all of that. And by the way, each of these interactions that I'm making is collecting data about how the students have worked through the problem. So we know the level of difficulty for each question based on how many hints were needed and how many wrong answers the students made. And we have a variety of question types. You saw that open-ended. We have, multiple choice. We have more open-ended, but we try to create a variety of question types. Here's an interactive slideshow where students can see very specifically what's happening in this worked example with, very detailed explanation. And then, an easier way for students to try this out. And then this is what I'm talking about in terms of the scaffolding, lots of scaffolding and support with feedback. And then slowly, as you get more into the unit, you'll start to see more open-ended type problems that the students make. We have the ability in terms of what I was talking about before, there's multiple representations of embedding video, as well as, and you can see more open-ended questions here. And I just wanted to show you what one of these, PhET simulations look like embedded. It's very much just part of the page, not sending students out to some other link where they have to go and then find their way back. We embed these things right into the course. and can create lots of practice around them as well. So as you can see in this particular page, lots of practice. I want to get to very quickly, sorry for my scroll there. I just want to show you a couple things on the last page of each module. Has, of course, a summary, but we also have this ability, or we embed these my response activities in. This is part of that reflection for the students to really stop and think, can I do these? Can I perform these learning objectives on my own, or do I still need some sort of support? How confident am I in my abilities now that I've worked through this module? And then a place where you can kind of talk about, as a student, what still is unclear, any other questions you have for the instructor. And I'm not going to show it in this particular presentation, but the learning dashboard, then this all feeds the learning dashboard for the instructor to be able to see, the confidence of the students, as well as what they still might be reporting that they're struggling with. Let's see here. Whoops, I went to the wrong place. And then we offer the graded quizzes at the end that can, when it's embedded in your LMS gradebook, you have the ability to line these grades up with your LMS, and you can have multiple attempts, and students usually work through these, answer them, and then they submit, and then they can review those attempts, review the same type of feedback as provided on these questions as the formative practice as well. And the way we put all this together really quickly is this is a page of the chemistry course in our authoring software. So I just want to show how easy it is to either change the content how you see fit, or and tailor it to your specific needs, or to even create your own content using this WYSIWYG editor, essentially. So each of these, you can see the text, the images. We can have alt text on the images. This is MathML, so it's the way we use to embed equations and things like that. And it's just very easy to click in here and really change anything that you want. And if you are interested in doing so, we would sit with you and have a quick training session on this, but you can see the variety of things that are available. And then I'm very excited to introduce very quickly our new system, which is called Taurus. And what this does is I can talk about all of the lessons learned. We've learned since 2002 about offering a platform such as this. And so we're building a new one. And just to show a little bit of how this one is used. Oops, I guess I had it open too long. You can go into any page, and again, you can build the same kind of content. It's just our newer platform for doing so. And it's even easier to use. It's more of even like a, not quite Google Doc experience, but pretty close to it. You can just click in here and add whatever you need, images, different types of activities. And this is a course I use as a demo. So there's lots of like unfinished stuff in it. But I just wanted to show that off. And with all of these, the data is very, this is the kind of data that we provide. This is for each question in this course, what the performance of that has, what kind of performance is happening on those questions. Again, just a really quick sneak peek, but hopefully it's made you want more.
Just a quick clarification. I'm sure that people are wondering why we showed both platforms. It's because Taurus is still a work in progress. It cannot do everything that Echo and the current delivery platform can do. For instance, it doesn't have a learning dashboard yet. And also because we have not moved over all of the existing content from the old system to the new system. So Taurus at the moment is used for new development. So anything that you want to build from the ground up. And the main benefit with Taurus, we should say, is that you have complete control over the actual publication schedule. Right now, using the current technology, you do your work, and then OLI has to actually turn the gears for you to get your material onto the OLI website for students. But with Taurus, you are in complete control from soup to nuts. You control the publication of every typo, every change, every edit.
And even more importantly, unlike other platforms and unlike our old platform, it is one integrated platform. So where you create the content, it's push button publishing. You can push that out to your students as soon as you make a change in the course, which is pretty exciting to us. So
I just want to jump in quickly. As we are moving forward with the migration to D2L, this will be integrated in D2L Brightspace. It is not currently in the demo or sandbox environment because it's really just for testing the tools within D2L, but it will be in the production environment. So when you do teach your classes, it will be there, and it's very quick to get up and running, and it'll be all set when you're ready.
thanks, Tony. Thank you all for having us. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and if you're interested at all, please contact any of us for more.
Great, thank you all so much. It was also great to see the inside, right, the inner workings. We had some questions about that, so I appreciate you giving us that in-depth look. Just to wrap us up and do a little bit of closing here for everyone, we just want to thank you, first of all, for participating in this session today. Our next session is at 1 o'clock, and it's the same Zoom link. In fact, we're going to keep this room open, and it is on how campus administrators can use OER data to promote access. We have our full schedule events happening this week, along with a link to register and view all recordings and materials that'll all be at the link I'll post in the chat. And we also have a survey just to help us as we plan for future iterations of Open Ed Week. We do this every year, so we'd appreciate your feedback there. And we hope to see you at another OER event this week. Thanks again.
Thank you.